Hi, this is Stan Fitzgerald representing the Center for Renewing America. It's an organization founded by Russ Vought, who was the White House budget director for the Trump administration. And he is starting this organization to form a national coalition where we're going to work on border security, election integrity, and government oversight. One of the things that Russ specifically asked me to do was rip his videos and put them on our platform. So for starters, we're going to do that. My wife Donna and I will be working on the ground in Georgia with Wesley Ross. If you're from Georgia, you know who he is. So you could reach out to myself, to Wesley. We'll get you connected with the long-term plan if you want to help us. And we're going to be officially partnering with Veterans for America First to use our platform to reach more people in this effort to help save America. So please watch these videos, visit the website. I'll be on weekly calls with the team, and we'll keep you updated on how you can help.
Joining me now is Russ Vought, former OMB director and Center for Renewing America president. Russ, thanks for joining me.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
So you may have heard there, Chad, we're still in the throes of these negotiations. Joe Manchin has just issued a statement just in the last few minutes saying he won't support the $3.5 trillion. That's clear. But as Chad said, maybe there is a number below that which he will accept and which will also be acceptable to the progressives. Where do you see this coming out? Are we going to get both the bipartisan infrastructure bill and this massive Biden spending plan done?
Well, I think it's too soon to tell. I mean, they obviously have a substantial amount of problems on their hands with regard to their ability to pass it out of the House tomorrow with the infrastructure portion, and then to pass anything through the Senate with such a slim majority. And the reality that even if they do a $2 trillion bill, that they have to pay for that, or they're intending to pay for it with tax increases. And those tax increases are going to be very unpopular. And the reality that the things that they're going to put in that package is not just spending, but it's policies that raise energy prices. It's things that divide us as a country. So I think they've got a lot of work to do. I think they're up against some deadlines that they're going to have a hard time hitting tomorrow. And I think tomorrow will probably be fairly ugly for the speaker.
Do you think, it's worth saying, isn't it, Russ, that the number that keeps being quoted is this $3.5 trillion bill, but as we've pointed out at the Wall Street Journal and others have too, the actual final price tag of that bill is significantly higher because there are these kind of provisions for sunsetting some of these arrangements that are clearly not going to happen in 2025 and 26 and 27. So the likely cost is actually significantly higher, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. They as with any bill in Washington, D.C., they employ artificial sunsets to lower the cost of permanent spending. All of the spending is permanent spending because it is through reconciliation. So this is not the type that is done on an annual discretionary basis. And when you're talking about that, they're always using the types of accounting gimmicks that allow them to lower the cost. And they're also on the revenue side relying on artificial assumptions about the impact that this would have on economic growth, and which we know will never materialize given the fact that these are all anti-growth policies.
Do you think, Russ, this is possibly a lose-lose for the president here? Either his agenda goes down and he's unable to get this package of bills through, or it does go through in some form or other, and people see what's actually in it and realize that it is a huge spending program which massively increases spending, for which a lot of which will go to favor democratic causes like public sector unions, these green energy splurges, things like that, and of course will raise taxes. So, even if it goes through, it could actually end up being something of an albatross for the president.
I think it certainly will. I think the challenge is that Democrats often are willing to pay a political price at the polls in order to advance their legislative priorities. And I think what they're hoping is that they can jam this through the Congress, have the American people forget it. I don't think the American people are going to forget it, and have it be in permanent policy and change America using these very, very narrow majorities that they have. And I think that's the challenge for the country, is that, it may be a win politically, but it will be very damaging to the country and may change us permanently in a way that we may not be able to get back.
Finally, Russ, as we look at these various spending proposals, and we look at what's happening to inflation in the economy, we've seen that picking up significantly. What do you think? What's the effect of all this pouring trillions more dollars into the economy in the way that the Democrats are proposing to do?
Yeah, I think the whole debate that we've had about inflation in the last several months is just the fundamentals of economic policy coming home, and that is something that, for various specific reasons we did not see in the last decade. Our policy elites said inflation would not come back, and we are seeing it because of the vast amount of spending that's going into the economy. And we're going to only see that in spades to increase as the economy picks up. It's coming out of an economic shock from the pandemic, and the Fed is not going to have the tools to be able to keep this in check the way they did over the last 10 years.
Russ, sorry, just one more quick question. Looks like they're going to do a deal the Republicans seem to be on board for a deal that keeps that keeps the government funded. That's due to run out, as we know, at midnight tomorrow. The remaining question is over the debt limit. The Republicans have held out against signing up to increase the debt limit. Treasury Secretary Yellen said the government starts to basically run up against its maximum ability to borrow sometime in the middle of October. We in any kind of danger here that the U.S. could actually default?
Gerry, this is one of the most amazing fake crises I've ever seen in Washington, D.C. The Democrats have the votes to do what they need to do to raise the debt ceiling. They have movable objects, which is, they're not relying on Republican votes to be able to get majorities to do this.
No,
they have a procedure that allows them to do it.
They can do it with reconciliation, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing that's preventing them from doing this other than their own temper tantrum that they're currently having.
All right, Russ Vought, thanks very much for joining us.